Chapter 41, Chapter 6, Part 4. Seashell Hotel, top floor. 5:59 a.m. Cammy couldn't have been gone for more than a few minutes before Riz became aware of someone else in the room with her. She had been crouched off in a corner and pouting, but suddenly her entire body grew stiff.
"You really thought I wouldn't notice, did you?"
came Jaff's voice.
"You thought I wouldn't notice that you were stealing the prisoners out from under my nose? That you were subjugating my orders?"
Riz didn't bother turning to face him.
"Your orders? In case you've forgotten, you aren't the one in charge here. I'm as much the leader here as you are, and I'll do as I please." "Yes, and that's worked out so well for you so far, hasn't it?"
He laughed.
"I see that magic Koopa of yours failed yet again, Riz. How disappointing."
Riz bristled dangerously at his taunt. Without warning, she suddenly spun around and threw a punch at him with a scream, but he easily sidestepped it.
"When will you learn, Riz? No matter what you try, you can't outdo me, and you can't earn our Lord's favor over me. You've lost. And you've won?"
She snarled at him.
"The last I noticed, Mario was still on his way up. Not for much longer. It's time I told you how to really break a hero, Riz."
He grinned at her growing exasperation.
"Mario and his friends have one great weakness, and it's not you or me, or an old hag firing magic spells. It's each other. They're so dependent on one another, they can only work if they're together. And I think I know just how to fix that."
Seashell Hotel, 24th floor. 5:46 a.m.
"Ugh. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a little tired of all these stupid puzzles,"
Mario groaned, leaning against the handrail as the group walked up another flight of stairs.
"The Dark Striders really went all out trying to keep us from getting to the top, didn't they?" "I don't know. I think some of them have been really clever,"
said Julia.
"Like the one in the music bar where the door was voice activated and would only unlock if you sang that specific song. It's just a good thing Maisie was there. It certainly wasn't very smart of them to leave that song on the piano for us to find,"
Maisie remarked.
"As awful as they are, they're not infallible."
They arrived on the next floor and got a look around.
"Okay, Ferdinand, what's on this floor?"
Mario sighed, feeling his legs ache.
"Well, let's see. Ooh. This is where the ballroom is. The swankiest ballroom on the beach, I might add, dudes,"
said the bumpty, looking excited.
"All sorts of high-class dudes hold shindigs in this joint." "Geez, this hotel really does have everything,"
said Hanner.
"Who would ever need this all of stuff is totally beyond me." "Well, we'd better have a look inside,"
Mario decided, walking over to the door as his partners followed him.
"I'm sure there's something in here we need to, whoa."
The moment he pulled the door open, he fell silent. The room they had just entered was one of the biggest and nicest looking ballrooms Mario had ever seen. At the periphery of the room was a bunch of round tables covered in pristine white tablecloths, and the dance floor was a flawless polished wood, without a single mark on it. What really stood out, though, was the ceiling. It was a velvety black and adorned in tiny little twinkling lights that looked just like stars, making the whole thing look just like a beautiful night sky.
"Wow! What a pretty ballroom,"
Hanner said with a big smile on her face, staring up at the ceiling along with everyone else.
"Sure does look expensive." "Well, I don't see any Dark Striders or anything important in here, so there's not much of a reason for us to hang around here,"
Mario decided.
"We should probably keep going." But I'm tired, Mario,"
said Stubba, plopping down on one of the chairs.
"Can't we stay in here just a little bit?" "Yeah, if there's nothing important in here, it's not like the Dark Striders are gonna come looking for us in here,"
Hanner snickered. Mario glanced around and saw that all his partners were looking pretty bushed.
"All right, fine,"
he decided.
"Just for a few minutes, though."
Everybody sat down at one of the tables, looking relieved to get off their feet for a little bit. Mario couldn't take his eyes off the dance floor, though. He could only guess how many people would fit onto it. What a crazy place this was.
"I bet Peach would kill to have a ballroom like this,"
he finally said. Then he sighed.
"I sure wish she could be here for this." She just loves dancing and other girly stuff like that.
Dolia was looking sad.
Yeah, I miss Benny too. Boos are supposed to be really good dancers. I think it's something about not having any feet to trip over.
Suddenly Hannah jumped to her feet.
Aw, come on, you guys. That's no reason for us not to have fun.
Before Mario knew what was happening, she had grabbed him by the hand and pulled him to his feet.
Come on Mario, let's have a dance right now. You can pretend I'm Peach. Wah. Yeah. And I can be Benny.
Stubba cheered, grabbing Dolia's hand and leading her out onto the dance floor. Dolia looked completely flabbergasted.
Hannah, I don't know if we should really, whoa.
Mario gasped as Hannah suddenly dived right into a brisk waltz, holding his hand with one of hers and putting the other on his shoulder.
Oh, wow.
He finally laughed once he had stopped tensing up and started falling into the rhythm.
Hannah, you're quite the dancer. Why didn't you tell me? Dancing's not very useful when you're trying to save the world,
she said with a grin as Mario stopped to spin her around.
Oh, this is fun, isn't it Mario? I really wish we could all just do fun things like this as a team more often. Well, when we're done saving the world, you pick where we go on vacation, Hannah. In fact, you had better plan out our whole itinerary.
Stubba and Dolia weren't dancing quite as adroitly as Mario and Hannah, mostly owing to the little club's legs being so short. He still insisted on leading, though, and the two of them were stumbling around the floor as gracefully as they could.
You look so pretty when you're dancing, Dolia,
Stubba said sincerely.
I bet Benny can't wait for you to dance with him.
Dolia was giggling and looking delighted.
Oh Stubba, you're such a gentleman.
Snatchel was sitting and watching the whole thing with his head resting in his hand, trying hard to look indifferent and trying even harder not to let his gaze travel over to a certain teammate of his.
Dancing's so overrated anyhow,
he muttered, looking unhappy.
I mean it ain't something that'll ever get you anywhere in life like fist fightin' or Yoshi wranglin' or...
He stopped dead as Maisie suddenly came walking up to him with a playful look on her face.
Why Sheriff, this isn't very chivalrous of you. Aren't you going to ask me to dance?
Snatchel sat bolt upright, looking thrilled.
Boy howdy am I. I reckon I might could do that for you, Missy.
Hannah was the first one to notice the two of them holding hands and walking onto the dance floor.
Oh, man. Mario, get a load of this. Hey.
Mario turned and looked where Hannah was pointing, and was surprised to see that Snatchel and Maisie had suddenly begun to slow dance. Maisie was wearing a delighted smile and looked as graceful as ever as she danced, but the poor sheriff, who was always so confident, was starting to look more like an awkward high schooler.
Oh, wow.
The plumber chuckled and shook his head.
What do you know? Took long enough, didn't it? What I wouldn't give for a camera right now. His face is priceless.
Hannah whispered, trying to contain her laughter. Mario raised an eyebrow at her.
Hannah, it's not nice to exploit your friends' embarrassing situations for your own amusement. Sorry, Mario. Are they in love, Dolia?
Stubba asked quietly, figuring she would know. Dolia was trying to cover her smile with her hand.
It sure looks that way. Even if he doesn't realize it yet.
Stubba looked up at her in confusion.
How can he not? Oh, you'll understand one day,
she promised him, patting him on the head. That just made him pout.
That's what everybody says to me.
Meanwhile, Ferdinand was still sitting at the table and was looking perfectly content to just lean back and watch the others.
That is most righteous. I guess this is what you call lamb or, hadood.
He was of course talking to Gwynplaine, who was facing away from the floor and glaring at a wall.
Don't talk to me,
he hissed. Ferdinand just shrugged, looking unconcerned as always.
Whatever you say, dude.
A few minutes later, Hannah apparently decided that she and Mario weren't dancing fast enough and promptly began to pick up the pace, laughing as she practically hurled her dance partner across the room. Mario yelped in astonishment at how enthusiastic she was, and of course the other two pairs took this as a challenge and started tearing up the dance floor as well. Very quickly this led to people crashing into each other or getting dizzy to the point of collapsing to the floor, and finally they had no choice but to abandon the endeavor in favor of laughing hysterically. Not long after, the entire group came staggering out the door of the ballroom as they laughed and gasped for air.
Well, that was a complete waste of time,
said Mario.
But it was still the most fun I've had in weeks. I'll say. Hey, guys. Look over here,
said Hannah, suddenly racing off down the hallway. Mario realized she was heading right for the glass door that led to the large balcony outside the building, and everyone followed after her.
Isn't it beautiful? You can see the whole beach from up here,
she said, leaning against the balcony with a smile.
The ocean's so pretty.
Everyone gathered around and looked as well. Mario couldn't help but smile at the sight. Palmy Balmy Beach at this time of day was almost empty, with only a few brave souls swimming or surfing in the not quite light. The palm trees rustled gently in the wind, and the deep blue sky, almost bright enough to be morning, covered the whole place in a dark rich hue. Everyone else seemed to be entranced by the sight too, because for the longest time they did nothing but gaze out at the ocean.
This is really a magical time of day, isn't it?
Mario finally spoke up.
I mean, it's not quite night, but then it's not quite morning either. I guess day and night really aren't so different after all,
said Julia.
Or you need both of them. Or one can't exist without the other. You know, something like that.
Maisie nodded sagely.
They're both important. They always have to be in balance. I suppose that's what being a guardian is all about, isn't it?
Hannah frowned.
Yeah. How exactly do we do that, anyway? I mean, it sounds like a really important job, but I've got no idea how it works. Ah, shoot, it can't be that hard,
Snatchel laughed.
Not for us, anyhow.
The group continued to look out over the ocean, except Gwynplaine, who was glaring at the wall and making a point to demonstrate how disinterested he was. Mario hardly even cared anymore, though. All he cared about was that they were all here, sharing this view and preparing to face their uncertain future together. Even if it was just for this brief moment, he had his partners, and they all had him. It was moments like this that reminded him why his constant struggles to save the world really were worth it. Seashell Hotel, 29th floor. 5:56 a.m. Eventually the moment passed and the group realized they had to carry on. They made their way up several more floors, and before long, they were nearly at the very top.
I can't believe it. We're almost at the top already,
said Mario, glancing around warily as they stepped into the hallway.
That means there's probably something really nasty keeping us from getting upstairs.
Ferdinand glanced around.
Hey. You sure, dude? I don't see any blue dudes around here. Well, the door's right over here,
said Delia, pointing down the hallway at it. Strangely enough, it didn't look like anything or anyone was guarding it. In fact, it didn't even appear to be locked. Mario blinked.
It can't be that easy. There's no way.
Still, he walked down the hall right over to it, grabbed the knob and yanked. It didn't budge.
What the?
He tried again. Still nothing. He tried again and again. Nothing worked. The door wasn't locked. But somehow it was sealed up so tightly that Mario couldn't open it no matter how hard he pulled.
They did something to it,
he sighed.
Stubba, try breaking it down. Okay, Mario,
Stubba said reluctantly, walking up and repeatedly bashing the door with all his might. Mario's heart sank when it didn't do a thing.
Didn't see this one coming,
Gwynplaine grumbled sarcastically. Mario tried to ignore how he was being as unhelpful as ever.
Okay, everyone, we can handle this,
he said.
There has to be something up here we can use to break the door down. Ferdinand, what's up here? Oh, it's just the kitchen, man. I don't think we can nail this thing with pots and pans, know what I mean? Well, let's have a look anyway.
Mario expected a hotel this fancy would have a big kitchen, and he was right, it was huge. Almost everything in the kitchen was covered in chrome. There were several long rows of counters covered with every cooking implement Mario could imagine, along with all manner of pots and pans hanging from the ceiling. But it was completely empty, and all the lights were off.
Hello? Anybody in here?
Mario called out. No answer.
I'm starting to wonder if this was a good idea.
Everyone stuck their heads in after Mario, looking a little discouraged at how quiet and still it was.
I kinda don't think there's anything in here, Mario,
Hannah finally said.
This whole place is empty. It's kinda eerie. Well, I guess it would be empty. It's not even 6 in the morning. Who eats at this hour?
Mario reasoned. Then suddenly, he got an idea.
Now, if it were this time in the evening.
He quickly pulled out the Ian hourglass, and everyone crowded around as he flipped it over. Seashell Hotel, 29th floor. 5:56 p.m. Sure enough, the kitchen in Dayside was in full use. All the lights were on, and surrounding the group were the sounds of boiling pots, humming ovens, and water hissing from sinks. What Mario hadn't expected was for the people running the kitchen to be Darkstriders.
Whoa! Hide, guys!
Mario hissed, immediately shoving his partners out of the kitchen and running out after them. Once they were out, he very cautiously drew up to the circular window on the door and peered inside while his partners pushed and shoved each other out of the way as they tried to get a look.
What on earth are they doing in there?
Maisie wondered as they all watched the two Darkstriders racing back and forth with various food dishes in their hands.
Beats me. But I'll bet you anything they're hiding the key or whatever in there somewhere. There's so many places in there to put it, it'd take us forever to find it even without Darkstriders. So how do we get in without them catching us?
Asked Stubba.
You guys don't go in. It's too risky. I know exactly how to avoid getting caught, though.
Mario turned to a specific one of his partners.
Delia, think you can help me out? Oh, sure thing, Mario.
Delia quickly put her hand on Mario's shoulder, concentrated hard, and turned him into a Darkstrider in a puff of purple smoke.
Heh. Wow, looking good, Mario,
Hannah snickered.
Ugh. I might look good, but I feel disgusting,
he groaned, looking disdainfully down at his new form.
Come on, Mario, we should hurry up before it's too late,
said Delia, who had already transformed herself. The other partners hid safely outside the door and watched as the two of them edged cautiously into the kitchen. They made it in just in time to hear the Darkstriders having a very telling conversation.
Can you believe that, Jaff?
One of them grumbled as he was stirring a pot.
Just because he's so high up in our Lord's books, he thinks he can boss the rest of us around. You're telling me? If he's hungry, I say he should make his own lunch.
The other one snarled as he started pouring the entire contents of a large bottle into another pot.
The nerve of that ridiculous, hey! What are you doing in here?
Mario and Delia froze as the Darkstriders glared directly at them.
You're supposed to be guarding the door, remember?
The second one snapped at them.
What do you think you're doing leaving your post? If Mario actually makes it upstairs. Oh, leave them alone,
the first one said.
It's not like Mario can get up to the top floor anyway.
Mario tried not to look surprised.
Really? Why not?
The first one glared at him.
Did you forget or what? We barricaded the door so tight that you would need some kind of explosion to break it down,
he said.
And it's not like Mario's carrying around a bomb with him.
Mario very carefully kept his expression neutral. An explosion? They had to blow up the door to even make it up to the top? How on earth would they do that?
But hey, as long as you guys are in here, make yourselves useful. We're going to go take a break, you get over there and finish up Jaff's food for us. What?
Mario demanded before Delia shoved him in the side.
Oh, I mean. Sure. No problem. Perfect. And make sure you add plenty of hot sauce,
he added, pointing at the large bottle next to the pot.
It's his favorite. Yeah. Time to go lounge in the pool.
The second one laughed as they both dropped their stuff and strode out the door. Mario and Delia jumped out of their way a little too quickly as they left.
Great. Now what do we do?
Mario sighed as Delia turned them both back to normal.
We have to blow up the door? We're going to get in such big trouble with the management. I think they'll forgive us after we save all their lives, Mario,
Julia said reasonably.
But you're right. We don't have any way to cause an explosion.
Mario suddenly got an idea.
Hang on. You couldn't just turn into a bomb, could you?
Julia frowned.
I don't think that'll work. I mean, Stubba couldn't break the door down, and he's as strong as any bomb.
Mario frowned as well, leaning against the counter in disappointment and trying to think of what they could do. Surely there wasn't anything in this hotel they could use as an explosive. It wasn't safe. Suddenly he felt his gaze travel over to the bottle of hot sauce that the Dark Strider had been pouring into the pot.
Whoa! Look at this, Julia,
he said, grabbing it and reading the label.
There's a huge warning label on this thing. It says, do not under any circumstances mix this product with orange juice. The results will be explosive. Orange juice? Really?
Julia repeated, staring at the label.
Well, that can't be too hard to find, can it? Wow, that was easier than I thought it would be. They must have some in here somewhere. Let's look.
They searched all over the kitchen for a carton of orange juice, but they failed to find any at all. Mario did find something else, though.
Why on earth is that pot rattling so hard?
He said, gazing up on the high shelf where it was resting. Deciding to investigate, he whipped out his new wall jump ability and hopped from one shelf to the next, finally reaching the top. He pulled the lid off and stared inside, only to jump back in shock.
Holy cow! There's a Luma in here.
He gasped, immediately reaching in and pulling out the poor trembling star.
Those guys trapped it in there. I can't believe them sometimes.
The two of them quickly left the kitchen after that and regrouped with the rest of the partners. Mario filled them in about what they'd heard from the Dark Striders and asked them what they thought about it.
So, the only way to break down that door is with an explosion?
Asked Maisie, who was examining the bottle of hot sauce.
Well, Mario, it seems to me that all we need to do is find some orange juice and our problem is solved. Well hey, that's no problemo, dudes,
said Ferdinand, vaguely waving off at something outside the building.
There's a juice joint right outside on the beach. Oh yeah, we passed it on our way here,
Mario recalled.
Ugh. I don't like the idea of leaving the building, though. The Dark Striders could do something else while we're gone. I think some of you guys had better wait in here and watch the place while we're gone.
Hannah glanced around warily.
You're probably right. Oh, and one more thing. As long as we're down there, we had better set these guys free,
he said, pulling out one of the two Lumas he had with him.
Ferdinand, you haven't gotten upgraded at all. You had better come with.
But to Mario's surprise, Ferdinand shook his head.
Ah, that's nice of you, dude, but if anyone's gonna chill up in here until you get back, it should be yours truly, know what I mean? What? Well, no offense dude, but I'm the one who knows this place like I know the back of my flipper. I'm probably the best dude to stick around and guard the fort while you're gone.
He looked a little imploringly at the plumber.
Come on, Mario dude. You trust me, right?
Mario wasn't quite sure what to say. He trusted beyond a doubt that Ferdinand knew his way around here, but he still didn't really like the idea of leaving him in charge of the group. The bumpty had gone this whole time with that same carefree attitude of his, and he still didn't seem to understand what was really going on. Mario finally had to shake his head and inwardly scold himself. He was being stupid. If he couldn't trust his partners, then he couldn't trust anyone. Anyway, he'd only be gone for a few minutes, right?
Okay, Ferdinand, if you really think you're up to it,
he said, trying not to sound reluctant.
You watch the rest of the guys while we're outside.
Ferdinand grinned.
No problem, dude.
Mario glanced at the Luma in his hand.
Well, we've still got to help these guys, so I guess that means... Snatchel, Julia, you guys want to get upgraded. Sounds like a plan to me, partner,
said Snatchel as Julia beamed and nodded.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. You guys will be fine up here until I get back, right? You can count on us, Mario.
Hannah said brightly, giving him a salute. Mario nodded back and quickly escorted Snatchel and Julia over to the stairs. Unbeknownst to any of them, a dark figure had been watching them this whole time. and the instant Mario was gone, he grinned. Palmy Balmy Beach. 4:59 p.m.
I really hope nobody on the beach has caught wind of what's going on in here,
Mario sighed as he unlocked the front door and pushed it open.
The last thing we need is more innocent people getting involved in. What's going on in there? We heard there's a hostage situation going on. What?
Mario blinked as he realized there was a huge crowd gathered in front of the entrance.
Oh, terrific. No, look, everybody, everything's fine. There's nothing going on in there,
he said calmly.
Then what was that screaming? You have to let us in there. Somebody has to call the police. Now listen here, everybody. We got this all under control, so quit panicking.
Snatchel shouted over the commotion, but nobody even paid attention to him. As some of them tried to push their way inside, Mario started rapidly running out of patience, so finally he did the only thing he could think of. He pointed far off in the distance and shouted.
Hey, look over there. Is that Zip Toad? Oh my gosh! Where?
Shrieked a female Pianta, and within seconds the entire crowd had raced off cheering and shouting at the top of their lungs. Snatchel blinked.
Oh, right. I was gonna do that next.
The three of them quickly walked down the beach and over to the juice bar, trying to act casual. Mario glanced around and saw that most everyone was still swimming, surfing and playing, and didn't seem to realize what was going on in the hotel. Well, that was a relief, at least. The sooner they rescued everybody, the better. Within minutes they came walking away from the juice bar with Mario holding a fresh glass of orange juice in his hands. Next they found the star pedestal in an unpopulated section of the beach, nearly hidden by a surrounding circle of palm trees. The two Lumas started jumping around in Mario's pocket as they sensed they were getting close, and he had barely touched the first one before it came flying out and perched on top of the pedestal. Finally, both of them had been rescued, and both of Mario's partners were upgraded again. Snatchel was upgraded to Ultra rank. He can now use Double Dash to plow through all ground enemies. Dolia was upgraded to Ultra rank. She can now use Howl to lower all enemies' defenses.
Thank you, Mario.
Dolia giggled as the Lumas vanished into the sky.
Now I'm more sure than ever we'll be strong enough to beat those Dark Striders. You said it. But now we had better hurry back inside,
said Mario, glancing uneasily over at the hotel.
I want to get back in there as soon as we can, before something bad happens.
Seashell Hotel, 2nd floor. 5:02 p.m.
Man, now I'm getting worried,
Hannah sighed, sitting on the bed in their hotel room and swinging her feet.
When's Mario coming back? He's taking forever.
Stubba was jumping up and down on the bed again.
Don't worry, Hannah. Nobody ever beat Mario before. He'll come back soon. That's right, darling, I'm sure Mario's doing just fine,
said Maisie.
Stubba, honey, don't jump on the bed like that, you're going to hurt yourself.
Gwynplaine was scowling off in the corner of the room and trying to avoid talking to anybody, while Ferdinand was currently standing outside the door. He had valiantly taken it upon himself to guard the room and make sure nothing fishy happened. That turned out to be a mistake.
Ha 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 ha.
Came a low laugh from right next to him. Ferdinand jumped and scrambled out of the way, staring in confusion as Jaff suddenly appeared in front of him.
Dude! Another blue dude!
He cried. He immediately balled his flippers and started shaking them.
You're not getting past me, man. I know martial arts. Okay, not really, but I've watched a lot of movies. Oh please. I'm not interested in fighting you.
Jaff sneered, brushing Ferdinand's fist away.
I'm only here because I have some information you may be interested in. And I can't have that idiotic Mario around getting in my way.
The bumpty glowered at him before lowering his fists.
I'm warning you, dude. I'm not falling for any of your evil blue dude tricks. What tricks? I may be many things, but dishonest is not one of them.
Jaff said calmly.
Now then. I believe you're acquainted with these people.
He snapped his fingers, and a puff of smoke appeared in the middle of the hallway, which dissipated to reveal.
Ferdy!
Cried Sheila. She and the other 3 bumpty boarders were all tied up together, struggling vainly to get free. They all had terrified looks in their eyes, as though they were expecting something awful to happen to them. Or something already had happened. Ferdinand let out a horrified yelp and tried to rush over to them, but Jaff leapt in his way.
Ah! Take one more step and I guarantee you will never be able to save them.
He growled, opening up his hand as a flickering ball of dark energy materialized in it. Though it took every ounce of his willpower, Ferdinand finally sighed and let his arms fall to his side.
That's better.
He closed his hand and the energy ball vanished.
Now then. I've been watching you, and I know you are working together with Mario and friends to liberate this place. And I'm afraid I must put a stop to that.
He took a step toward the bumpty boarders.
I'm offering you a chance to save your friends right here and right now. On one condition. You must leave this place and never return.
Ferdinand stared at him.
What? Ferdy, man, you shouldn't be listening to this dude. He's not.
Brody tried to shout, only for Jaff to smack him silent with a clawed hand.
Hey! Nobody lays a hand on my bros like that!
Ferdinand shouted, racing forward again. Jaff immediately spun around and smacked him as well, sending him crumpling to the floor.
You're not listening, are you? What did I warn you about taking another step closer?
He sneered.
I see Mario was right about you. You just don't understand.
Ferdinand had been struggling to stand up and holding his head, but now he forgot about everything else.
Right about what? Oh, come now. Mario is a hero. He's the only one strong enough to present a threat to our Lord. You honestly think he'd recruit someone like you unless he had no other choice?
The Dark Strider laughed, relishing the confused look in Ferdinand's eyes.
You know what he says about you? He says you take nothing seriously. You understand nothing that goes on around you. You don't even seem to realize there's a problem when time freezes.
Ferdinand was starting to look desperate.
But Mario dude. He'd never. Just face the facts. Mario doesn't want you around, and neither do I.
Jaff opened his hand again, and another energy ball slowly began to form.
So here is my offer. Either you take your friends and go, or you stay with Mario. And something very regrettable happens to these 4.
The energy ball in his hand had grown huge.
Oh. And choose quickly. I'm very busy.
He aimed the ball at the bumpty boarders, who all squealed in fright and tried to shuffle away. Ferdinand was glued to the spot, watching the whole thing helplessly. He couldn't let his friends get hurt. But he couldn't abandon Mario either. Mario was trying to save the world, even if he still didn't really understand how. Didn't understand? Did Mario really think those things about him? Was he just an annoyance to Mario? Was he really just a slacker who didn't notice that the world was falling to pieces around him? If something happened to him, would Mario care?
Time's up,
said Jaff.
If you can't decide, I'll just do it for you.
He reared back and prepared to hurl the energy ball at the 4 helpless bumpties.
No.
Ferdinand shouted, forgetting all about Mario as he scrambled forward and threw himself in Jaff's way. That was exactly what Jaff wanted. With a wicked grin, he snapped his fingers and all 6 of them were enveloped in smoke. That very moment, the door flew open.
Ferdy!
Hannah cried, sticking her head out the door.
Where is he? What's wrong, Hannah?
Stubba asked as the others all followed her outside.
I thought I heard something out here,
she said quietly.
I swore I heard Ferdinand. And Jaff.
Everyone stared at her. Only to turn around at the sight of Mario, Snatchel, and Dulia charging up the stairs.
Guys! We're back! We got the orange juice!
Mario shouted. When he saw the looks on his partners' faces, though, he quickly drew to a stop.
Guys? What's the matter? What?
Then he noticed who was missing, and the bottom dropped out of his stomach.
Guys? Where's Ferdinand?
he asked.
Where did he go?
End of chapter.